Ryan's World's parent. Right, Ryan's World parents. Anyways, finally got what they deserved. I don't believe it until I see it. This is by Kowski. So, we're gonna look at this. Yeah, last time we basically were just like in the middle of like seeing how they set up his sister. So I'm curious where this is going. Also, please consider liking, subscribing. I appreciate it. Right.
Ryan's World made his
Listen, all these like how do you say it? All these like child influencers that were set up by their parents, right? They all end up in some way, shape, or form abused, or like in a weird place. Like Piper Raquel, right? Anybody remember Piper Raquel? I think we do remember Piper Raquel, right? I think we've reacted to like reacted to the Amala Ikpunobi video and other videos as well, right? She was set up for the OF, right? Pushed into it by the parents. Let's not deny that. That's why she was already like when she was still a minor, like being caught with the Bob House girls, right? But also, when we look at this, throughout her entire like quote unquote YouTube career, she's been in some way how do I say this? Placed weirdly in the videos, and like it's just weird and odd. And every single time, these parents are just absolutely horrible. If I ever have children, I will keep my kiddos away, far away from YouTube. Not even post them online. Far away from the internet. My kiddo. Ain't nobody getting to see that.
parents over $34 million at just 4 years old, but now 10 years later their entire empire is crumbling. A multi-million-dollar movie that completely flopped, being investigated by federal authorities for misleading children, and Ryan himself, now 13 years old, making it very clear he does not want to be doing this anymore. So when you look at everything his parents have done, this downfall, yeah, it feels very deserved. So let's break down how Shion and Loan Kaji built a billion-dollar YouTube empire off their own son, and how their own greed slowly destroyed it. So to understand how bad things got, you have to understand how it all began, because it didn't start with greed, at least it didn't look like it. In 2015, Ryan is 3 years old and absolutely obsessed with YouTube. He's been watching channels like EvanTube HD, another channel run by a kid who unboxes toys and plays games, and he tells his mother he wants to do the same thing. His parents thought, why not? So his mother takes him to a toy store, he picks out a Lego train set, they film the
You are telling me this little guy, right? This little guy has been on YouTube for 11 years. This little guy grew up on YouTube. Wow. Wow, I'm honestly at this point not really surprised that it is the way it is now, honestly. Okay, wow, poor little guy.
whole thing, and for a while the channel grows slowly, nothing crazy, just a family having fun. And then came the video that changed everything. A giant Lightning McQueen surprise egg, packed with over 100 Disney card toys. Ryan
What did I rate this correctly? 1.2 billion views? Did I just look at this correctly, or am I stupid? What the fuck? Wow.
Ryan's reaction is pure unfiltered excitement, the kind of joy that you genuinely cannot fake at 3 years old. The video goes on to accumulate over 1.2 billion views. Yes, I said that, billion. This genuinely
Billion? Actual billions! He made billions of views! Billions! Fucking diabolical, dude. Hey, can I have like 100,000 of those? I take them.
transformed the Kaji's family lives overnight. They went from a regular household in Texas into one of the biggest kid YouTube channels. And this was a very important moment right here, because at this point, Shion and Loan face a choice that every parent in their position has to face. Do you treat this as a wonderful, lucky moment that your child gets to enjoy, or do you look at these numbers, do the maths, see the potential, and start thinking about
Yeah, they were like, wait, so we can make billions of views with this. Can we use our sons to also make billions of dollars? A more billion? Bro woke up one day and decided I'm gonna be a YouTuber. Bro woke up one day and was just a YouTuber at this point. That's crazy.
What comes next, and the Kawjis made their choice pretty quickly and took things very seriously. Within months of that video blowing up, the channel's growth became exponential. Brand deals came in, sponsorship offers, merchandise proposals, and Shion and Loan, a structural engineer and a high school chemistry teacher, made the decision to quit their jobs entirely and go all in on Ryan. On the surface, this may sound like supportive parenting, backing your kid, believing in them, but look at what they actually built, and this kind of framing falls apart very fast. They formed Sunlight Entertainment, a full production company. At its peak, the operation employed over 30 people. If you think about it, it's very crazy. 30 people on full
A production team at like young age with 30 people. Is it just me or is it just in general? I'm already against having kids be posted on the internet, so this is already, I'm already not a fan of that, but do you really have to farm your own child for money like this? What the fuck?
salaries, benefits, production costs and equipment, a massive financial machine that needed constantly feeding. And there was only one person whose name was above the door, Ryan Kawji, a literal child. At their peak, the Kawjis were running more than 10 channels simultaneously, and across those channels they were producing up to 25 videos every single week. Which, if you really think about it, is kind of sad. Ryan went from being another ordinary child to a superstar. His whole house and all the rooms.
So every single week, there would be 25 videos. It depends on, I guess that's just a little... When does this little guy even have a break? 7-year-old YouTube millionaire. At 7, chat. At 7. That's sad. He's essentially, like at 7, he's like full-time employed at this point. At 7 is crazy.
Were gutted and converted into professional filming sets. Lighting rigs, camera equipment, props everywhere. His home stopped being a home and became a workplace, and his entire life became work. Ryan's daily life, breakfast, playtime, trips to the stores, became content. Everything he did was filmed and monetized, and at this point it started to look like Ryan wasn't enjoying the life of a child. His parents were using him as a cash cow. So by 2018, Ryan Kawji was the highest paid creator on YouTube. Not the highest paid child creator, literally the most earned on the entire
22 million, the highest paid creator on YouTube. Now, here's the question though. Does that beat T-Series? Well, if we're separating creators and companies, maybe. But regardless, that is insane. That is actually insane. Wow.
platform. 26 million
And now you gotta remember, right? His sister is being set up to take over the spot. So now I'm actually curious if the parents are actually going to find out, or if it's just like a bait title. Because like I don't think so. When are you just too big to fail? That's the question. And like, does it really matter that much? I mean, they made so much money, it kind of doesn't matter. Hi Zoom, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. My dad's birthday and my family and cousin eating at TGI Fridays. Okay. Well, happy birthday to your papa.
dollars in a single year, and he was just 7 years old. And he continued to hold that title again in 2019 and in 2020, 3 consecutive years as the highest earning person on the platform. And this wasn't only from YouTube. This came from the empire of products that included Walmart toy lines, Colgate toothpaste collaborations, mobile games, Macy's Thanksgiving parade balloon, and many more. But with all these numbers about how much money they were making,
Okay, now I'm kind of jealous. I also want to have a parade balloon.
started coming out, things started to become very weird. Because when you think about it, $1 billion brand built on a child's face and a child's labor, well, there's no guarantee that this money will ever become his. Unlike child actors in Hollywood, who have had earning protections in place since California passed the Coogan Law back in 1939, child influencers had virtually no legal protection at all. Every single dollar Ryan generated legally belonged to his parents, All of it. Ryan had no trust fund being set aside and no legal guardian protecting his financial interests. Literally nothing. He was the golden goose and the cage had no laws around it. And things only continued to get worse. As the channel grew and the business.
So you are telling me that this boy earns nothing of the wealth that he created. Everything is owned by the parents. That is sad. Imagine you like work really hard and then like everything you worked for isn't even yours. Huh, sounds like taxes from the government. But anyways, you should try eating TGI Fridays restaurant in Germany if one of your family had a birthday. Yeah, probably not. I'd like to like just support regular local businesses if I can.
Scaled up, the content changed. Because what started as a kid genuinely playing with toys he loved, slowly, quietly shifted into something else entirely. His videos had sponsored segments, brand deals were sneakily added into videos, and products were placed into Ryan's hands. Toys, food items, toothpaste, games, and Ryan would play with them, react to them, endorse them. And his audience, which is of course mostly toddlers and preschoolers between the ages of 2 and 6, had absolutely no idea to understand what was happening. Think about the audience for a second. These are children who still believe in the Tooth Fairy, Santa, and so on. Children who cannot read. Children who literally look at Ryan as a kid just like them. Excited and happy and relatable, trusting him completely. When Ryan picks up a toy and says he loves it, those kids believe him. Then they go to their parents and ask for that.
Yeah, they obviously ask the parents if they can have that toy too, and the parents buy that toy and then realize it's actually absolute garbage, right? We know how this goes. Ryan is getting exploited by his parents, and his twin sisters are getting exploited too. Yeah, they're essentially being set up to take over, and I wonder how this fallout is gonna look like, because like all the sisters are just gonna like take over, and he's gonna be completely sidelined, with essentially nothing, because like again, essentially all his quote unquote wealth belongs to his parents. So like I wonder how that's gonna turn out.
Exact toy. But the massive problem here was these ads weren't disclosed. They were built into the play. There was no clear label, no separation between what videos were Ryan actually enjoying something and just an advertisement. And it wasn't long before critics, parents, consumer advocates, child psychologists started raising the alarm that this was not ethically right. And it was potentially illegal. So in 2019, the Federal Trade Commission and the New York Attorney General launched one of the largest digital enforcement actions in American history. The target is Google and YouTube. The charge is violating COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, by collecting personal data from children without parental consent and using that data to serve targeted advertisements. The fine was $170 million, $136 million to the FTC, and $34 million to the New York Attorney General, the largest COPPA settlement ever recorded. And it was so big because YouTube knew what they were doing. Everyone knows that these children's channels are watched primarily by young children, but rather than treating those viewers as a protected class they legally were, YouTube served them targeted ads based on behavioral tracking data, web cookies following children across the internet, personal data being harvested from kids who were barely old enough to hold a tablet, all to maximize ad revenue. The ruling forced immediate changes to the platforms. Comments were disabled across children's content, targeted advertising was severely restricted, and crucially, YouTube.
I find that hilarious considering that now children can basically watch adult content on YouTube regardless due to all the AI slop, so there's that. Funny, isn't it? Someone needs to sue Ryan's parents and to save Ryan and his twin sisters. You probably can't really do anything against that. That's probably the most they could do, right? Is enforce this safety act. That's the only thing they probably could have done. The problem is like, as long as he like is on board and he doesn't refuse to not participate in it, there's nothing really you can do.
YouTube's recommendation algorithm was recalibrated to stop aggressively promoting kids' channels the way it had been. For the Kawjis, the impact was catastrophic. Loan confirmed it herself in an interview. They lost 70% of their revenue practically overnight.
So after the target ad was removed, our revenue went down by 70%. After just that day. So
what was this day for people that don't have context?
Okay, so the FTC, I guess, prohibited the target ads for the made for kids content from YouTube after a certain point, and that the target ad it takes the big role on the YouTube, and after that point, that's the majority of the revenue, the ad revenue. So after that was taken out from the kids content, we lost revenue of 70%.
And when you think about it, this destroyed the operation of Sunlight Entertainment. They had 30 employees, multiple channels, and so many production costs. And now overnight, 2/3 of its previous income completely disappears. And this had an effect on Ryan, because this meant the financial pressure went up, which meant they had to pump out more content, take more brand deals, and do literally everything for an extra penny. And around this same time, the Kawjis rebranded Ryan Toys Review to Ryan's World.
So the bad news is there will be no more Ryan's Toys Review. But the good news is that we're still gonna make videos. Yay! We're just gonna change the channel name, and now it's gonna be called Ryan's World. We're changing the channel name because we don't just do toy videos, we do science experiments, and we do challenges like the floor is lava.
It was framed as the channel growing and evolving, but behind the scenes it was more damage control, an attempt to distance the brand from controversy.
That, and also probably to see here the plan could also be to slowly distance yourself from the kid stuff, right? The more older he gets, because like the problem is like you're not gonna make money really. Again, I think his sisters are gonna jump in for him eventually, right? He's 14 now. He's gonna get older and older, and eventually completely like irrelevant. They're gonna sideline him, and he's not gonna see a penny. Again, that's my prediction. It's just so sad. It's sad. It's sad. We got male Piper Raquel here. At least he's not gonna start an OnlyFans when he hits 18. So there's that. But like, I could see it actually happening. And the question is like, what can you legally do? Like, what could he legally do? Let's say like they just drop him eventually, right? He hits like 18 or something, and they drop him. Like, what can he do legally? I'm curious.
And make it look less commercial. But then came issues that no rebrand or money could fix, because Ryan, he was growing up. The kids who had discovered him at 4 and 5 years old were now preteens. They'd moved on to gaming channels, to social media, and to other content that actually reflected their age. They weren't watching toy unboxings anymore, and Ryan's peers, other kids his age, weren't interested in watching a 12-year-old pretend to be excited about toys designed for 5-year-olds.
One of y'all please tell me why in the freak is Ryan
Just retire, Unk. I mean, in comparison to what he like does, right? He is an Unk. That is true. I have a prediction. He's gonna be a streamer in like a few years. That is my prediction. He's gonna start streaming in a few years on Twitch or something, right? When he's like the same age as Rakai, he's gonna stream. That is the prediction I'm gonna have. Not that he saw any pennies so far. I guess the toys, but like, not really something that he can do anything with. I guess he did see some of the money and like the stuff he was definitely buying stuff that like with this money, right? Let's not deny that. But I'm curious how this is gonna work out once he hits legal age and like he demands the money. If he can do anything, because like, I don't know, legal system. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna predict at like 17 or so, he's gonna start streaming on Twitch.
World still making video. If y'all don't recognize who this dude is right here, and yes, I'm saying dude, he's a grown man. I'm gonna show you something real quick. This is him back in 2018. I remember as a kid, I used to see his videos all over the place. I'm like, yo, this little kid's making a lot of money. Bro, he has 39 million subs. And back in the day, he was pulling 2 billion, 1.2 billion, 400 million, 461 million. He was Mr. Beast before Mr. Beast. I recently saw this video on my timeline, and in 2025, he is still making videos. So I went on a search to figure
2 billion. 2 billion. 2 billion. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a high number. 2 billion is crazy.
out why. He does not want to make videos, at least from what I've heard. Apparently, bro, his parents is forcing him to make videos, and you're asking why? I'm gonna show you. Lil bro has an estimated net worth of $100 million, and this is probably not even all his money, because you know the net worth doesn't get all your money.
Comments started appearing under his videos. His voice is deeper than mine now. How is he still doing this? Former fans saying they used to be jealous of his life, and now they were grateful to be normal kids. And this continued to platforms like TikTok.
He's literally 40. Let him free. Interesting. A better lifestyle, I guess. But yeah, it's still kind of weird that he's essentially like stuck in this, like, he's like old, like a young teenager, right? Still, and like he's essentially stuck acting like a 5 or 6 year old, which is really sad.
Where people made memes about him which got millions of views. And here's the massive issue that Ryan's parents had created. Their entire brand, the merchandise, the partnerships, pretty much the whole channel identity was built on a specific image, a cheerful, excitable young Ryan. But now that he's grown up, they won't let him change his content or step back and explore his own interests. No, that's too big of a financial risk. They're still gonna make him unbox toys at 13 years old, even though his audience doesn't want to see that anymore, and Ryan doesn't want to do that anymore. So what did they do? Well, they pushed harder. More uploads, more recycled content. They began just reposting old videos, running live streams on repeat, and chasing whatever ad revenue was still available from the shrinking audience still tuning in. They even tried new stuff such as gaming content and educational challenges to chase Ryan's older audience, but they were all flopping, pulling a fraction of the views the old content used to generate, with commenters even pointing it out and calling it very forced and cringe. By 2023, Ryan had fallen from 1st to 17th on YouTube's highest earning list, the same list he topped for 3 years running, and everyone could see.
But 17th is still I don't know what we're acting like this isn't still ridiculous. 17th is still ridiculous. Let's not deny that, right? It's still ridiculous. I mean, eventually, I think all creators fall off, right? There's like people who like at one point pull like 50k viewers a stream, right? And now they're chilling at 3k viewers. Like, there is a time where all content creators have a little bit of a fall off, right? This is just like the natural evolution. But 17th is still crazy. Let's not deny that. Like, let's see. Let's actually look, right? 40 million subs, by the way. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The numbers are in the trend. Actually, the numbers are in the trenches, kind of. But they're also not really uploading that much anymore on this channel, right? On Ryan's World. At this point, why are there some videos where simply the mom is just on the... Wait! There are videos where just the mom is on the thumbnail and nothing else, nobody else. They're not even using Ryan anymore. They're okay, so like in the last... Ain't no way. In the last 10 videos, Ryan is not once on the thumbnail, except in the re-upload where he was a kid. A little kid. Ain't no way. They even opened the TikTok shop. Bro. And they make like an average, like what? Between like 400k and 19k. Somewhere there. That's where they're chilling. But that's still crazy. That's kind of depressing. Right? That's kind of That's kind of sad.
See it, Ryan's world was slowly falling apart, and his parents, rather than acknowledging that, they just kept pumping out the videos. And if there's one moment that crystallizes exactly what Ryan's life looks like behind the brand, it's his podcast appearance. Ryan is the guest. He's been brought on to talk about his life, his channel, his experiences, but what
I know who's talking the most. The dad and the mom are talking the most, and he's not saying anything realistically, right? That they probably were just like, yeah, little bro, you gotta shut up. Don't say anything. Just say anything when we give you permission, and that's all there is to it. You're gonna be nice and quiet, little bro.
a dynamic, and it becomes deeply uncomfortable very quickly.
Like, Ryan, are you going to keep making YouTube videos, given your interest to be an animator and maybe go behind the camera, like as you get older?
I think I will keep going for a while, yeah.
His parents are there, and they do the vast majority of the talking. And when Ryan
Yeah, he looked like I will keep going for a while. I will keep going for a while. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. That kind of thing. He's no longer the golden child. Yeah, he's grown older, and like now it doesn't really matter, right? They built this entire thing around him. And him being a child who has like fun, but like the problem is that he is a child. That he's no longer a child, and that he has, well, he's still a child, but like he's no longer a child, and he's growing up, and he's soon gonna be a young man, and like he's stuck in this.
does speak, which was very rare, he looks at them first in a way that looks like he's asking, is this okay? Am I saying the right thing? And when he's asked whether he enjoys making content, his answer is very careful, of course looking at his parents, and not long until his parents interrupt him. But as you can probably tell by the clip I just played you, what Ryan said in that interview was that the version of his life that he enjoyed is over. He doesn't enjoy playing with toys or unboxing them anymore, and he wants to do something that normal teenagers do. Go play sports, play video games, hang out with his friends, go to the movies, whatever. But publicly, he's not allowed to say that or do that. But guess what? His parents heard all of that, and what was their response? Well, they decided to make a movie. So let's go over the Ryan's World movie disaster, the Titan Universe Adventure. A $10 million budget, major promotional push, with it being positioned as the brand's evolution beyond YouTube. Proof that Ryan's World could compete in mainstream entertainment. Well, long story short, it made $600,000 at the box office, losing $9.
Wow, he made $1 billion, a rhinillion. Look at this. That's crazy. That's sad. Imagine you spent 10 million and you get like barely 600K back. And internationally, it was just 11K. So domestic, we have like 613K. That's pretty sad.
$9.4 million.
What got us out of Dark Titan's lair? You need us. She has a point.
This bitch is empty. There's nobody. I guess the person here, but like there's nobody there.
How's this for a point? I'm the big brother, I know best, and I'm in charge.
Theatre staff across multiple countries reported screenings with 0 attendees, not low, literally 0. And by the third weekend, films with essentially no marketing budget were outperforming it. The IMDb score settled at 1.8 out of 10, one of the lowest ratings of the entire year across any film in any genre, and audiences described it as a cash grab that failed to even succeed as a cash grab. It was a YouTube quality production that had no business being projected onto cinema screens. And if you really think about it, it makes no sense. Ryan's World is older, yet they want to make a movie about him opening toys or whatever. And then when you even take a look at the channel analytics, his views have dropped. So now you want to make a movie with a massive budget? Of course it's not going to make money if your YouTube videos aren't making money. And this movie was more than just money burnt. It removed any remaining doubt about where the brand stood. This was a public, documented and irrefutable confirmation that Ryan's World had lost its audience completely, and that his parents were still spending money they no longer had trying to pretend otherwise. But their next move, it was even sadder and pretty much disgusting. As Ryan began appearing less in
Yeah, now he's gonna say it, I think. Now he's gonna say it. Well, like, they're slowly gonna swap out him for his siblings. Hi, Drake. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. They're slowly gonna swap out him for his siblings. like I said, and we haven't even seen like the full end of this. We haven't seen the full extent of this yet.
Content, probably because he was very tired, flat, and going through those normal teenage emotions we all went through, the camera shifted onto his sisters, Emma and Kate. They are 7 years old, and they became the stars of the show, first alongside Ryan, and then slowly over time without him. They now have their own animation series, their own dedicated content, and their own merchandise and toys. As you can imagine, the internet's reaction was furious, because everyone recognized exactly what they were watching. Ryan had made his parents millions of dollars, and the moment he started showing signs of not being interested anymore, his parents decided to keep the machine going and started using his sisters instead. Same playbook, same house, but just different kids. Comments flooded in saying, Ryan made you money, and they're already moving on to the next siblings. It's sad, as it seems like this cycle of the Kaji parents using their children will never end. But there was some light at the end of the tunnel, because slowly legislators started acting. Illinois passed a kid influencer protection law in 2023, one of the first of its kind, requiring parents who profit from their children's online content to set aside a percentage of those earnings into a protected trust that the child can access when.
But how does this happen though with previous funds? Because this doesn't, right? You're a little late. You're a little late to the party here, because like, how does this affect him now? And like, do they have to just like, does this affect the previous money that has been made? Because if it doesn't, it's essentially useless for him. Like, good for future, like for the future, right? But like for him, it's essentially useless though.
They turn 18, California followed with its own version of the legislation shortly, Washington State introduced similar protections after. And it's good that these laws were added because it's the exact gap the Kajis exploited, and Ryan Kaji is the reason these laws now exist. His name will never appear in them, but the gap they were designed to close has his story written all over it. And the thing is, Ryan's story isn't new, it's just new in the social media world. But previously, the pattern has always stayed the same. Macaulay Culkin made his parents millions from Home Alone and spent years in legal battles trying to protect his own money. He's spoken openly as an adult about the psychological cost of childhood spent working. You could then look at the Olsen twins. They built a billion-dollar empire from early childhood, and the moment they had legal controls over their own careers, they both walked away from acting entirely and have rarely looked back. There's a lot of these stories, and they all follow the same pattern. A talented child with parents who see an opportunity to make money with.
I wonder if Piper Raquel is one day gonna wake up and realize, fuck, I've been essentially groomed by my parents my whole life. I wonder if she's like, oh, this kid, yeah. I wonder if they're eventually gonna wake up. Eventually, she's gonna wake up and be like, shit, I'm cooked. I'm cooked.
Insufficient protections, and then later down the line, an adult who eventually has to reckon with what their childhood actually was. Ryan is only 13, his reckoning is still coming. So now you guys might be wondering, where is Ryan now, and what is he doing? Well, the family relocated from Texas to Hawaii in 2021, with Ryan attending a private school. And from what we've seen on social media, his daily life now involves tennis, skateboarding, swimming, and a massive love for animation. He's officially listed as a creative director at Sunlight Entertainment, which in practice means occasional voiceover work and brief on-camera appearances when the brand needs him. And the Ryan's World channel still carries his name, the merchandise and all the toys still carry his face, but Ryan himself seems to be quietly, carefully building a life that exists outside of this social.
That's good for him, I guess, in a way. He's slowly, like, quote unquote, retiring from it, and he gets the opportunity to do something else. However, that opens the next can of worms and the next problems, which is his sisters. Because those aren't safe. So while he is now going to pull back, his sisters are going to be more out in the open, and they're going to be the greater focus. And that brings a new set of problems.
Media world. He wants to do animation. He said it multiple times in interviews.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, I want to be like an animator. I think it's really fun to do because like the drawing, and then like at the end you get to see the whole thing and see what you've like worked on the whole time. And like sometimes I can see like the drafts first, and then after I can see like the full thing. And it's really cool to see how it changes over time.
Yeah, you were in the front.
He wants to create on his own a behind the camera series. And honestly, given everything he's been through, that desire makes complete sense. He spent his entire life being directed, managed, packaged, and literally sold. So it makes sense now he wants to do everything on his own. He must love the freedom.
Yeah, imagine living a life ruled by another. Great. Finally, he can be a normal teenager till he goes into a legal battle against his parents. Essentially, yeah. Essentially, that's what it is, right? It's gonna be interesting. We need to keep an eye on that, right? Once he hits like 18 and he starts finally going down the warpath against his parents. That's gonna be very entertaining to watch.
Or must desire the freedom, because he's only 13, he doesn't have freedom yet. So let me know guys' thoughts of Ryan's world and his entire empire crumbling. Were his parents in the wrong, or was it right to capitalize off a child who made them a lot of money? And what do you think Ryan's world is going to do in the future? Will he start his own channel?
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. Funny how Piper kills there. Regardless, yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of fallout from these child creators once they hit adult age and once they realize what their parents have done. It's like it's difficult to say. It depends on how you do it, right? If they were like if I capitalize on it, at least in the most non-abusive way possible, as long as the child wants to do it, do it. And like, just save the money, don't do anything with it, put it to the side, and then once he decides he's no longer interested, just let him do his own thing. Let him do his own thing. I think that would have been a better choice. Not forcing him to be there all the time, but at best, of course, no child content creators. That would be optimal, but like, we live in the time where that's not possible, sadly. But yep, that's just me.